When well-known Texan brothel, the Chicken Ranch, shut down in 1973, many people thought southern rock band ZZ Top was to blame. The band had written a popular song that year for their third studio album, Tres Hombres. Tres Hombres. Three Dudes, as the English translation would be, about the brothel. As a single, the track hit number 41 on the Billboard Hot 100, but by the time people caught wind of this tune, the Chicken Ranch was already on its way to closure. Officially in operation from 1905 to 1973, the Chicken Ranch was a staple of Fayette County and known for its clean workers and good relationship with local law enforcement. Even in its final year of operation, local sheriffs allowed the brothel to continue its business unhindered. Unfortunately, Texas Attorney General John Hill had a bone to pick with the establishment and asked investigative TV reporter Marvin Zindler to look into the establishment. Zindler's investigation attempted to link the Chicken Ranch to organized criminal activity in the area, but to no avail. However, the investigation made enough noise for officials to shut the place down anyway, and on August 1st, 1973, a handmade sign was hung outside the establishment blaming Zindler for its closure. The story of the Chicken Ranch lives on through the play and film entitled The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, as well as the ZZ Top track named after the nearest town to the brothel. That's right, we're talking Grange by ZZ Top on Cover Me. By God, it's Cover Me, the only podcast that talks about famous songs and their many cover versions, compares them against one another to find out which one is tight most every night. I'm your host as always, Jake Cressy, joined by my merciful co-host,
Alex Mildenberger.
Alex Mildenberger. What's going down?
What is going
What's
down?
up?
What is
What's
up?
shaking?
What's shaking? I'm still feel like I'm in a weird limbo. Not even post, but like post-vaccination, I guess is the right
Right.
term. Like I haven't really done anything, and I'm not really doing anything in public. And I'm hearing news about like cases rising and stuff, so I don't really know what to do. So I haven't really done much. It's not really much
you may
up.
have missed the window.
Yeah,
there
I
was
think
a brief
I
window
might
where
have.
it was like, oh, we've got this thing beat, and now it's like, things are
We're
going the other way
picking up.
again.
Picking up. I'm supposed to see a movie though, so we'll see how that goes.
Hell yeah, dog. See a movie in a theater. I would recommend it. It's a good time, a good experience. It can be a piece of shit movie, and it'll still be good because you haven't been in the theater in over a year.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. Yeah, right on, Alex.
Let's
I
go.
hear you with that vaccine limbo.
Yeah, that's what's going on the coast.
Yeah, pretty much. Cases are coming up again. Other than that, it's just the same shit here, different day.
It's normal. Yeah.
Normal stuff. We finally got some rain today. It's been
Ooh, we're
50
supposed to get
days, over 50 days since measurable rain in Vancouver.
And you're right
We
by
had
all
some
that
brief-
water. Should
Yeah,
be
right by
falling
that
out of
water.
the sky constantly.
Yeah, somebody should be just throwing it out, dumping it on land. Come on.
What do they even
Yeah.
need so much in the ocean for? Just being greedy.
Just greedy little fucks.
Fish.
A little bit of smoke this last week. Not a lot, We're doing our best out here, just living life.
Oh, and we got ants.
Ants.
Well, not like a lot. We've like seen ants around. I killed 4 ants this morning. So
Shit,
it seems
Alex.
like there's a lot of ants.
Gotta put their bodies on little stakes to let those fuckers know what's up.
Yeah, I try to be like Vlad Dracula
Yeah.
whenever I can, so.
It's a good policy to have. Alex, it's
Mhm.
Cover Me, the only show that exists. That's a joke every podcast makes, I think.
At some
Or the only
point,
one.
yes. Only ever, sure.
Here's the thing, Alex. It's Entrepreneur Summer.
It is.
2, Pro Sex Summer. And that's, I realize at this point in this 2-month event that unless you've been tuning in since like early June / since Steven's last appearance to talk about Foster the People's Pumped Up Kicks, like the term Entrepreneur Summer 2, Pro Sex Summer means nothing. It's
Yes.
a jumble of words.
Yeah, it's I barely understand it, honestly. But yes, I thought it was kind of like half an inside joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's a podcast. It's like it's outside. It's not just between you, me, and
sure.
the Steve, which is what we call Stephen Reynolds. But it's something that we needed to. In the same way I say this is the podcast where we compare famous songs to their originals. I need Entrepreneur Summer 2, Pro Sex Summer needs that. I've been describing it as us doing it like a mullet, which makes sense, and to the extent that that describes the structure of it, but it doesn't describe the why of it.
Yeah.
Or
So
the what of it, really.
So what is it? What is going on here?
It's Entrepreneur Summer 2, Pro Sex Summer, wherein we talk about songs about either business, sex, or both.
Yeah.
And we're rocking it like a mullet, so we're doing business in the July, and now we're in the party half. We're doing sex.
Sex in August.
Sex in August. The name of my autobiography. What else do you need to know, really? Originally, Entrepreneur Summer 1, way back in 2017? 2018?
I think it was 20. Oh no, you. Yeah.
No, it was
I don't remember.
2018. It was
Don't
2018.
remember. Yeah, that sounds right.
We would have recorded with Steven in 2018, and then we went on a 3-month hiatus before even becoming a podcast.
Yeah, 'cause that's when I started working.
Yeah, okay. In which Stephen Reynolds, man about town, that was trying to be an entrepreneur, but just for the summer. What?
He wanted to like do things, and he didn't want to get a job, so I think he wanted to leverage the things he was doing into
For money,
for money somehow, but just didn't actually do that.
Yeah, never got to that point. It was more like fun hobbies summer, which is just summer, I think, typically.
Yeah. So I mean,
getting into hobbies summer.
just try stuff summer. It's nice out.
Yeah. It's nice.
Might
out.
as well
It's
brew
summer.
some mead or whatever.
Yeah. So that's it, folks.
Steal
That's
some
what
honey
Entrepreneur
from some
Summer is.
bees.
And that's why we're talking also about. I forgot to look up how he died. How'd he die, Alex?
I forget to.
Oh my God, Dusty Hillman. What the fuck's
Dusty
his name?
Hill.
Is it actually
ZZ
Dusty
Top.
Hill? It is.
Yeah, it is.
American musician, bassist. The bassist for ZZ Top died, which is part of the reason we're talking about this. Because if there's one thing y'all know about Cover Me, it's we chase death like a vulture, like a whole pack of them. We're on it.
We do.
He died at his home in Houston, Texas, at the age of 72. The cause of death was not announced. So there you go. He died of mysterious causes.
Pretty recently, July 28th.
Pretty recently, July 28th.
So we thought we'd talk about ZZ Top because
Mhm.
we haven't before.
And we haven't talked about a brothel before either. It's been pretty much gigolo summer until right now.
Yeah. So we're getting some for the ladies now too.
Yeah. So this one's for the ladies. From Tres Hombres to the ladies.
To the ladies. Yeah, ZZ Top's an interesting band because I believe they have the record for like the longest
Beards?
same lineup. Like they've had the same
Okay.
lineup for 50 some years and have been performing like pretty much that entire time.
Damn.
So they're really they've just always been around, and like I've always known about them because
Sure.
my dad's a big fan of ZZ Top.
Right, didn't you two go see him live?
No, but he's seen them live a couple times.
Shit. Okay,
I
I'm thinking-
haven't.
I think Jason saw him live because I remember that cartoonish shirt with them driving the car.
My dad had
all
a
three of 'em.
slightly different shirt, but also wore it a lot, so I remember it very well.
Okay. Well, did you ask your dad about the ZZ Top concerts? Did he speak highly of them?
Yeah, he was a big fan.
Fuck yeah.
He really liked theirs. He really liked seeing them. I didn't get like details or anything, but
No, we should have got him on. How confused would your father be with that intro? He'd be like, what the fuck
Yeah.
is my son doing? Entrepreneur Summer 2 Pro Sex Summer? Sorry, guys, I gotta go.
I know I have headphones on and there's a mic set up for me, but this is too much.
I can't be here.
Can't be a part of whatever this is.
Whatever nonsense this is. Alex, ZZ Top. Is this their greatest song ever? Probably not, but it is a song
Probably
by
not.
ZZ Top.
But it is definitely a ZZ Top song. What struck me was, now I've listened to this song a fair amount. You know, I've heard
Yeah.
it, But I didn't realize it was mostly instrumental. Guess I
Yeah,
just
it's
didn't pay enough
basically just
attention.
a guitar solo.
Yeah. There's like some lyrics at the start, which are about the brothel at
Hmm.
by Lagrange, and yeah, and then and then it's a guitar solo, and then there's some it switches up throughout, but yeah, it's mostly a guitar solo. And I was watching
Mostly
them
guitar solo.
play it live a couple times, some variation, but not a ton, some long
Hmm.
versions, and that's what a lot of the versions are too. I think live, and we didn't really do live versions. We're not going to talk about many, but a lot of them I
Isn't the
think are just
Phish one live?
yeah. There's a couple of them are live actually.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's similar to some of the like standards we've talked about in the past, where you pretty much just play it and then throw in like
Yeah, and that's basically
throw in
what
a
this one
huge
is
solo and you're just showing
anyway.
off your chops.
Because the rhythm, the is from John Lee Hooker's Boogie Chillin'.
Yeah, or it's
I,
inspired by it at least. I didn't think they were that similar
yeah, I
comparing
listened to the
them.
recording. I was like,
Yeah.
did you listen to Slim Harpo's Shake Your Hips, though?
Yes. Now that
Those
the
were a little
clicky
more
part
similar.
sounded a little more similar. I agree.
Yeah.
But they kind of add like a triplet thing, so it's not like exactly the same. I know there was some like legal action done, and then they ended up ruling that Boogie Chillin'
It
was
was,
like in the public domain. But even if it
yeah.
wasn't, honestly, I don't know. I didn't think it was that similar.
I think they're pretty close. I think there's a bit of. I think ZZ Top plays it better and has better recording equipment. I
Yeah, I
think is
guess so.
two strong points in
I
their
guess they
advantage.
have a few years on them, and also, well, I mean, it's like it's the blues, kind of thing
Yeah,
you do in the blues. You
the
play
blues is
like
for the people.
yeah,
You know, copyright the blues. Get out of here. And also the famous part of this song for me is the
right, right,
and that's ripped from John Lee Hooker's other song Boom Boom.
yeah. So a lot of it does come from other places.
Yeah, this is already built out of spare parts. You just throw a solo on it to make it yours. So that's a lot of what we're going to see today. It's a lot of why we're just about 15 minutes in and we haven't started talking about the lyrics yet because it's listen,
Yeah, there's
people, it's
not
thin
much.
this week. There's not a lot.
It's not a lot of lyrics. It's not a lot of lyrics.
But here they come.
Yeah.
Let's buckle up. Rumors spreading round in that Texas town about that shack outside LaGrange. And you know what I'm talking about. Just let me know if you want to go to that home out on the range. They got a lot of nice girls. Have mercy.
Ha 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 ha. Yeah, I mean it's talking about the chicken ranch, which is kind of like semi-legal, right? Like there's the stories about the management at the chicken ranch kind of working with the like acting as informants to the police. So like
Yeah,
they
so
would
like some
learn
sheriffs
things
would just
from
come
yeah.
down there and like listen for people to be bragging about crime, and they'd be like, "Yeah, solved the case."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they were just like well run, so it was like clean workers there. Yeah, they worked with law enforcement. It was just like it was illegal, yeah, but it was just kind of like everybody turned a blind eye to it because
Yeah.
it was like a benefit for the
Yeah, it was
community.
like yeah, it was like an institution in the community basically.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching an interview with Billy Gibbons, and he was talking about how like they all like grew up in Texas. They would kind of be like a saying you talk about like have you been to Lagrange or something, or like I went to Lagrange, and if you said that you meant you were going to this brothel because like everybody
Right.
knew about it,
Because why
and
else
there's
would
no
you
other
go
reason to go to
small town
Lagrange.
Lagrange?
So yeah, it was kind of a. And then even some of the stories, another one, Dusty Hill had a quote about like it was like when it was time to become a man or whatever, you'd go to Lagrange kind of thing.
Yeah, well, he says here, I went there when I was 13. A lot of boys in Texas, when it's time to be a guy, went there and had it done. Fathers took their sons there.
Yeah. So okay, cool. Different times, I guess maybe different times.
Yeah, and so, yeah. He goes on to talk about the establishment itself. He says you couldn't cuss in there, you couldn't drink. It had an air of respectability. Miss Edna wouldn't stand for no bullshit. That's the woman that ran the place, and you knew she didn't look like Dolly Parton either. I'll tell you, she was a mean-looking woman. But oil field workers and senators would both be there. The place had been open for over 100 years, and then this asshole decides he's going to do an expose and close it. And he stirred up so much shit that it had to close. and that is really it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. I mean, it had pretty long history though. Supposedly, it first opened in
Hmm.
1844.
Yeah.
I like the story. I mean, supposedly the name comes from that
Oh yeah, from the Great Depression,
during the
right?
Great Depression. Supposedly, I mean, I say supposedly, but this was reported on like some Texas tourism website. They were basically taking chickens as payment for sexual acts,
Yeah.
and then there were
'Cause nobody had
chickens
money.
everywhere, and they had a bunch of chicken eggs and chickens.
Yeah. And it's like, well, we're the chicken ranch,
Yeah,
baby.
so the chicken ranch. Another thing I heard from that interview, so the way they kind of frame the lyrics with his
Hmm.
rumor spreading around, talks about it's kind of hush hush.
Yeah.
Apparently, the idea for that comes from Buddy Holly and the Crickets song "Peggy Sue Got Married," where they sort of talk about like there's a rumor Peggy Sue got married, but never really say Peggy Sue got married. It's like, oh, this is what I heard, kind of thing, secondhand information.
Mm.
So similar, yeah. So they kind of take that air of mystery about it
Right.
and never explicitly say, well, except maybe later on. But it
Yeah.
is also like I hear this, I hear this. This is the he's never saying
Yeah. Yeah.
explicitly.
There's unreliability weaved
Yeah.
into like both of these verses. Where even in the second verse, he says, "I hear it's tight most every night." But he's like, "But no, I might be mistaken."
Yeah.
It's like either he's trying to deny that he's been there, or he was pretty fucked up when he went there, so he doesn't remember.
Right. And of course, the other side, I'm sure because, it is illegal, it's the sort of thing you wouldn't necessarily talk about explicitly.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you wouldn't want to necessarily admit to doing because you never know who's going to be listening, kind of thing.
Right, yeah. Well, despite the fact that everybody was there, it's
Yeah,
still...
everyone does and everyone knows, but like you still kind of keep it hush hush.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, from that other quote, Dusty Hill got mad at the guy who did the expose. So yeah, as soon as
Mm-hmm.
someone starts to talk about it, everyone gets mad. So
Oh, yeah.
you have to kind of keep that distance.
That's right. Well, and he was talking about it to shut it down. He was
Yeah, yeah.
looking
I
for
guess
crime.
true.
But yeah, and yeah. So the first one, he's like, he's also like, keep it hush hush, but also if you want to go,
Yeah.
we can go. They have nice girls there.
They got
It's a
lot
very
of nice
weird
girls.
conversation. Very
Yeah.
Texan, I would say.
Did we read the second verse yet? Or did we
We're
get
about
stuck
to
up in the
read
first
all
one?
of it.
Okay.
Well, I hear it's fine if you've got the time and the 10 to get yourself in. And I hear it's tight most every night, but now I might be mistaken. Have mercy.
Have mercy. Yeah. So I assume the 10 to get yourself in is a cover
Chicken,
charge.
right?
It's
No,
cover
yeah,
charge.
It's a cover charge. That would be my assumption as well.
Oh, if it had been like a dozen to get yourself in, it'd been like a chicken pun. Anyway,
Oh,
like a dozen eggs. Anyway, it wouldn't have fit the rhythm really, but also fun pun. It's tight most every night. Like,
Yeah.
like play on. There's a lot of people in it, and also vaginas, man.
Yeah, the quality of the vagina.
Yeah. So there's a little pun for you. So that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's the lyrics.
That's the lyrics.
It's
Have
mostly
mercy.
about there's not I guess I say there is subtext in the idea of it being hush hush. Like we don't talk about it explicitly.
Yeah.
So they stick with that.
It's-
But
it-
it's not like this huge metaphor or anything.
No, yeah, it's more about the vibe, right? And
Yeah.
it's this rumor spreading around. This is hush hush, rather than being like, you know that famous whorehouse, the Chicken Ranch? Pretty good.
Pretty good. You want to go there? They charge $10 to get in.
They charge $10.
But you can have your pick. They line them up on the couch or whatever.
Yeah, and they all sit the same way.
Oh yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's pretty simple, pretty all right. It's all you need for a blues song, right?
Yeah.
Hit the vibe right.
Especially this one.
You're good to
'cause
go.
Once they get through the lyrics real quick, like a minute in, and then we start the guitar solo.
Yeah. Now, with that, Alex, let's start the instrumental dissection.
Yeah. Also, fairly simple, but there's some interesting things happening.
Yeah.
I mean
It's all about the tone here.
yeah, a lot of that. The rhythm itself is like pretty good, and there's a reason that they can play it for this whole song, and it doesn't really get boring. You know.
Oh, yeah, it starts out soft too, right? Because you got basically
True.
the
Yeah,
soft
it's
version
quite
of the rhythm
muted,
and then the hard rock version of it.
and it
So that
goes.
soft one seems to have like a little bit of almost a grace to it, but you're like, oh yeah. And then once it goes to full distortion, like it's all hard rock energy.
Yeah, and that happens after the first verse.
Yeah.
So, and then of course you get Billy Gibbons singing on the first verse, and he really makes it sound greasy, you know.
Oh yeah.
He gets in the like low growly voice, and then kind of gets that
Like,
ha ha ha,
oh,
especially that ha ha ha. It like kind of
wow.
sounds like a little like greasy chuckle.
Yeah. That's 100% what it is.
Yeah. So it all really does work together, even if the parts are kind of taken from other places. They've really
Oh yeah.
put them together in kind of a good way.
Yeah, this is the chopper of songs, you know. It's put together from other parts, but it looks cool as hell. That's right. I'm talking about Chopper the motorcycle, not Chopper the reindeer from One Piece.
Okay, I was trying to
To be
think.
clear.
I was working through my things called Chopper, and I got stuck on my dog, which is not my dog, the dog that lives in my house.
But he is like your dog, like your
He's-
friend,
yeah,
right?
he's like my dog,
My dog.
but he's my roommate's dog. But my
Mhm.
roommates are my good friends, and I
But
live
he
with
used
them.
to be mine, dude.
So
So fine.
exactly.
Right. No, I was specifically referring to like a motorcycle that
A
is
motorcycle that is literally chopped from other motorcycles.
taken to the chop shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's and then like we said, after the first verse, it really breaks out. They kick up the
Yeah.
distortion. It was a lot more buttoned down before. The drums, you know, come up significantly. Before they were just like tick, 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 tick,
Yeah, really just like
clicky.
the stick hits.
Yeah, and maybe like the metal on the drum frames kind of thing. Like it's very clicky. It wasn't
Yeah.
drums. And then it turns into more of like a rock beat. And then he sings the second verse. It goes pretty quickly between those first two verses.
Yeah.
His vocals kind of pick up with the music, and he sings the second verse. And then it moves into the guitar solo.
Yeah.
The rhythm continues under that.
Yeah,
But
the whole time.
we're in solo form now. And then I mean it's also it's another one, like I've known this song for such a long time. It's like, yes, this is the part from Grange. Of course.
Yeah.
Like that's what this is.
This is what Lagrange sounds like.
How else can I describe it?
It's
some
ranked number
things that
74
happen.
on the Rolling Stone magazine's 100 greatest guitar songs of all time. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, I could see 74. One of the interesting things that does happen
Mm-hmm.
is it
Around the
kind of
2-minute
gets.
mark?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a section. I believe what's happening is they're playing tuples, which is basically changing the time signature to 3/4. I don't think that's exactly what they're doing, but it kind of sounds like that.
Right.
And it's cool because you don't expect a time signature change in a ZZ Top song.
No, certainly.
Which isn't possibly what's happening. They might just be kind of stretching the notes in playing tuples. So playing 3/4 basically.
Right.
But yeah, that's kind of cool. I didn't notice that before.
Yeah,
I knew this part. I didn't really
Mhm.
feel the rhythm change before, but
Oh, yeah, because it's like the
Yeah.
only other section. That's
I know it is a big change, but I didn't like specifically observe it.
Right, yeah, you didn't maybe have the same terminology that you have now on
Yeah.
hand.
So that's kind of cool. And then they kind of go back into the muted part for a bit.
Yeah.
Kind of another just like build. Like they go back to the muted part, but pretty soon after that it breaks out and they keep doing the rhythm, but it's the
Yeah,
distorted
and then
part.
it's back to a solo again.
back to
like it's-
soloing. Yep.
And then we fade out on soloing. Like it's a blues rock song, like right down to the core.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of solo. And it's like it's solid.
It's solid. Yeah, this is where we also, again, listeners, you've heard us talk about solos before. We
Yeah.
don't have the fucking terminology to
We
break
fall
this down.
right apart. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, here, I can throw some words. It shreds. It rips. It slaps. It goes up sometimes, then sometimes it goes back
Sometimes
down.
it goes down. There's this cool bit where he's kind of stressing the downbeat, and then the rhythm part is stressing on the backbeat, so they kind of alternate back and forth, and you get all this stuff. So there's things. Stuff
It's
happens.
dynamic.
Yeah, it's certainly not a boring solo.
No.
There's a reason it's ranked number 74 on the 100 greatest guitar solos.
Guitar songs.
List. Guitar songs.
Guitar songs, I will stress.
Yes. But yeah.
But like that's it, folks. And that's why this episode is gonna be a lot of filler. It's gonna be like your favorite anime when it catches up to the manga. It's gonna be a whole lot of filler.
Whole lot of filler.
Not a lot else. Because like a lot of these songs break down to the tone is like this, and now there's a different solo.
And sometimes not even that much different solo.
Yeah, sometimes it's the same solo because what else are you gonna do? It's
Yeah.
Grange. It's number 74
Yeah.
of the greatest guitar songs of
I
all
was-
time,
I was
according to Rolling Stone magazine.
I was expecting more different solos, honestly.
Yeah, because that's like if you
That's
gave this to
the
a blues
thing about this
musician,
song, yeah.
or like even give it to somebody who's in that realm of like, oh, a solo is you doing that, not playing the notes that some other dude played. That's his solo.
Yeah.
But you give it to other people here, and they just go like, we're gonna do that goddamn solo
Yeah.
because it sounds good.
But you know what? I think we should talk about some of those.
Let's talk about it. Talk
talk-
about
let's
it.
talk
Talk
about
about it. Talk about it. Hang on. First, let's talk about that
Ooh,
guitar
yeah.
sound because I have a
Oh,
quote
sure.
from Billy Gibbons.
Guitar sound. Yeah.
He says that is straight guitar into amp, a 1955 Strat with a stop tailpiece through a 1969 Marshall Super Lead 100. That fuzz sound in the lead and in the front and back end of the composition is just pure tube distortion. Pickup setting differentials account for the different tones. The opening part was played on what we used to call the mystery setting in the dark days before the existence of the 5-way toggle switch. When finding the perfect tweener, that means an in-betweener, required dedication.
Okay. So they're just messing around with the pickups.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it's just a little.
Yeah, I mean they've been
Things
around
are-
for such a long time. Like this is early 70s, but they were playing. They were the fake zombies for a while. That's how they
That's
got
right.
started, right?
Zombie top. That's not what the Z stands
Yeah.
for, as far as I know. Yeah, but that's right. This is from their third album as ZZ Top. So yeah, you count in that time for the first two albums, and then their time as Imposter Zombies. Like, yeah, they've been around for a minute.
Yeah. So
There's only a short time of profitability to imitate the Zombies, and that was pretty clearly like the mid '60s.
yeah, and like they jumped on it at the right time, probably.
Yeah.
Although supposedly there was some producer, like manager guy, who was the mastermind.
Okay.
But you know, they got in and they got out, and then they're doing their own thing, or they were doing their own thing.
It wasn't Bill Ham, was it? That's their.
Oh, I don't
he's
know.
like known as the ZZ Top producer.
I don't think he's the same as the ZZ Top.
No, I mean, because he probably had faith in ZZ Top.
Yeah.
He probably wasn't like, you guys need to
Suppose the
pretend to
guy
be the
is like,
zombies.
yeah, please just tell people you're this other band or play these.
Can you
songs.
guys do time of the season real quick? Like, come on. I would listen to a whole ZZ Top album of covers of zombie songs.
Zombies. Yeah, that would. I would like to hear what they sounded like because my thoughts of ZZ Top and the Zombies are very, very different.
Very different.
Although I mean, it was just the two guys, so I imagine there were more when they were the fake zombies,
Right, yeah, maybe they had a larger group.
and they didn't have beards
No, they had probably suits.
or something.
I don't know. Crazy stuff. Also crazy, Hank Williams Jr.
Hank Williams,
No, Hank
specifically
Williams
Jr.,
Jr.
Hank Williams.
1983, yeah.
Junior.
that home out on the range. They got a lot of girls out there. They're so nice. Yeah.
son of Hank Williams
1983.
Sr.
The
He's
son-
also not really Hank Williams Jr. because
Bocephus.
Hank is his middle. He's Bocephus, yeah. 'Cause his middle name is Hank, so he's something I forget. Hang on, I have it here. Randall Hank Williams,
Randall.
but then professionally he goes by Hank Williams Jr., which I guess he is. So he's like Hank Williams. He's country music, a little more modern than Hank Williams, but also not that modern because he's 72.
Shit. Yeah. He's been recently selected to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. He began his career by covering his father's tunes, and one time he compared Barack Obama to Adolf Hitler.
Cool. Oh, you sure
boy.
did. Controversial. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they stopped playing one of his songs on Monday Night Football or some shit after that. But then they brought it back because they're like, yeah, football's racist anyway. You bring it back. So that's who we're talking about right now.
So we're talking about HWJ, as we call him.
Now this one opens with a story.
It opens with a riff for like a little bit, and then he goes into the
Yeah.
story. It's kind of like steely.
Yeah, it's
And then
country
jumps into
guitar
the
shit
story,
right off
yeah.
the bat here.
And then he talks about having a dream last night.
Yeah. Heard Mama talking to Daddy. She said, Hank, Bocephus wants to boogie woogie. And he says, Audrey, it's in him, and it's got to come out. Let the boy boogie woogie.
Have mercy.
Have mercy.
Let the boy boogie woogie. So that's, I believe, in reference to the riff,
Yeah.
which is related to this boogie chillin' song, which I don't think is the same thing as a boogie woogie bass, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. He wants to boogie woogie. And then his story is about his daddy, as it were,
Daddy.
telling his mama that Bocephus should be able to boogie woogie if he wants to. Wonder if it's based on a true story.
Yeah. Also, where does this name Bocephus or Bocephus come from?
I have no idea. All I know is he said. I'm glad I read the Wikipedia page first because I would not have known what the fuck.
Yeah,
he said.
I would have been so confused.
Like, this is a Bocephus. I'm like, that's syllables.
Bocephus.
That's certainly some syllables.
Certainly is that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where Bocephus comes from, but I think when I was reading his Wikipedia page, it's like been his nickname for a very long time. His father
Right.
nicknamed him that. It's after a ventriloquist dummy. Some guy, a comedian, Rodney Rasfield.
Dangerfield. Oh.
Anyway, yeah. Apparently he's named after a ventriloquist dummy. Bocephus.
Okay.
Or, nicknamed. Yeah. So, after that story, it goes into the song more properly. It's kind of weird. So, he's singing. He goes into the verse. It goes into the rhythm, the fuller, powerful rhythm. And then it even starts the solo very briefly, and then jumps right into the verse.
It does, yeah.
It's weird. The first verse sounds like it has a backup singer, or like it's double tracked or something.
Yeah,
but the
there's like
second
a
verse
harmony or something going on.
doesn't have that. Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, we stripped
odd.
down in this version
Yeah.
instead of adding on.
He attempts to throw in some successfully. I mean, he does it, like some of his own kind of ad libbing. It's a very similar idea, but like it says like they got a lot of nice girls out there, and then he says they're so nice. Okay, thanks, Bocephus.
All right. Bocephus.
And then it gets into the guitar solo. This is after the first verse. It actually splits up the verses. There's guitar soloing in the middle, so it's more of like a traditional structure because the lyrics are more spread out.
Yeah, instead of just front loading them.
Yeah. To me, it feels cleaner. Like overall, the tone's a bit cleaner. It doesn't have as much of that like gritty, dirty feel as the original has.
certainly not.
But it kind of does
This
all
is
the
more
same
about
things.
like singing a song that everybody recognizes and being like, "Hey,
Yeah.
it's me, Bocephus, doing it."
Hey, yeah. Hey, it's me, Bocephus. But yeah, it's a lot. I mean, we're talking about tone, and this one doesn't hit as hard in terms of the tone.
No, certainly not.
It was plinky, I thought.
Yeah.
So I
Trying to
honestly
go for
thought
more
it
of
was-
a
yeah.
country vibe, but yeah, in that sort of like plinky, like dumb country sense, rather than like,
Dumb.
rather than country with an edge. This is the country simpleton.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a little
Yeah.
plinky dinky.
Plinky dinky. Yeah. Well, and it's supposed like the song is a bit more edgy, but it kind of lacks that. Especially, I don't understand the doubling up of the vocals in the first verse. It kind of sounds off, and then they abandon it.
Yeah, it's jarring, and they
It's-
abandon it.
it's odd.
Like they knew it was a bad decision.
Yeah. But then it's like you can change the first part of the recording.
Oh yeah, it's recording technology,
Yeah.
guys.
Anyway, so yeah, then they solo for a while, do a little transition into the verse, and then kind of go back into the solo. And there's a piano playing at that point. The piano
right.
kind of takes over the solo for a bit. It's playing really fast too. So that was probably the cooler part. It's almost like the piano sounds fine. It sounds like a saloon piano, you know.
Yeah.
So the plinkiness works for the piano, but less for the rest of it. Lots of
Yeah,
like yeah.
nothing else had a saloon vibe to it.
Yeah. So if they had stuck with that, it probably would have sounded a lot better overall.
Yeah, if they'd have played that throughout, because that's kind of the vibe this song should have. Is a little bit like, if you're gonna make it a country song, make it like a cowboy saloon kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's really you really gotta dedicate to this song because it's kind of, I mean, the ZZ Top is such like a strong. I don't even know. Like I know what they are. I don't know necessarily have the words for it.
It's just like a presence. It's just
Yeah, like they have
a
this
character,
presence.
an identity.
Yeah, so if you do the song, it has to have that strong identity because that's really the basis of it. It's a big part of it.
Because that's why they only need 2 verses that boil down to "there is a brothel."
You could probably go if you wanted.
You could probably go if you want. It's yeah.
Yeah, so it's I think a weaker version.
Definitely. It's just one that's meant to be like, hey, this one's based in blues, so's country.
Yeah.
Look at us do it. And just bloated. We're like 5 minutes 21 seconds here.
It's a bit on the long side for sure. They kind of stretch it out because they have multiple solo sections.
Yeah.
And and then even more so, lots of solos. He even throws in some of the how stuff at the end.
Yeah.
How.
Ha ha ha.
But yeah, it's mostly just shuffling things around.
Yeah. And yeah, that solo at the end in particular, which is just this overdriven guitar, like double tracked and doing this sort of the same.
Yeah, it
3
sounds
notes.
doubled.
It's boring. It's a boring solo. Once that's the other thing is once they've strayed off of the path of the original solo, we find out they're not that great of soloists.
It's a little less. It feels like it might be fun to watch live, but I don't
Yeah,
think this is
maybe.
a live version.
No.
Anyway, I think that's true of a lot of this. It works better live.
Yeah, speaking of what's probably a great show live, Phish in 2002.
Phish in 2002. Yeah, Phish. I know about Phish. They're a jam band. That's pretty much all I know about Phish.
Famous jam band Phish, inspired by the Grateful Dead. I used to write news articles for a guy's website who he was just like a big Phish fan.
Huh. What?
And
There's a Phish
that's
song
it.
in Rock Band, is there not?
Is there?
I thought there was, but then I looked it up and it turns out I was thinking of Primus. But I'm pretty sure there's another song by Phish, but I wasn't sure what it was.
Songs by Phish. According to the Rock Band wiki, there is Stash
Huh.
and Wilson, Tweezer and Llama. Are you thinking of the
Llama.
song
It's Llama. Yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
is. Anyway, we never played it.
That sounds about right.
It's in Rock Band.
We are not big Phish fans. Real big Phish fans, maybe, but Phish
Maybe.
fans, come on.
But yes, this is Phish, and this is live.
Yeah.
So let's see, what do we have about this version? It's much faster, and I think this loses something in the recording.
Yeah.
Just because, like, the guitar sometimes sounds like it kind of drops out. Like, some of the sounds are a little bit too soft. They sound like we're losing a bit, but I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, particularly in the start there, it's pretty quiet.
Yeah, so you get the rhythm, and it's the muted version.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it definitely feels like you lose a bit. In fact, once it, see, I have a note about this. This is later on, I think. I'll find it. We'll talk about it when I get there.
Yeah, yeah. He's got a very laid back voice. He's got some deepness to it. It's not the same skeeziness of the ZZ Top version.
But he's still singing it like very close mic.
Yeah.
And kind of understated in that way, elbow in the rib kind of.
Yeah.
Let me know if you want to go. Okay, here we go.
Let me know.
So, and they get the verses over with pretty quick. They don't mess with that.
Mm-hmm.
Although they add some more instruments because, there's jam bands. They got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
I'm on like the second verse in my brain though, so I might be getting ahead of us.
Right. No, I think you're good.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot. So
I think on the second verse, just to speak while we're still on topic of his voice, kind of sounds a bit like Frank Zappa songs here.
In the second verse?
Yeah. Just a bit of Zappa tone there. Your silence tells me that you can't discern it, which is fine, but I'll stand by it.
I know what you mean. Because the way he ends his lines. Here, it's fine. You got the time. Yeah. The way he kind of falls off.
Yeah, it's the same like
there's a little Zappa there. It's
pattern.
Almost like when Frank Zappa does it, it makes it sound almost like sarcastic. Like he's kind of I don't want to say taking the piss because I don't think I use that term right. But like it's almost like acknowledging that it's kind of silly to be a rock star at all.
Right, yeah. Or like singing
sense.
these words on stage is goofy, and we know that, and he knows that.
We know that, but we're all in on it, so we're having a good time. But like also,
Yeah.
I'm acknowledging it because I want to seem like I'm above it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
That makes sense to me. And you're right. This is where we get more instruments in. This is where the keys come in.
Piano, and then he does the like how bit, and the guitar and the piano both join in on that.
Yeah.
So here's the weird thing. The instrumental part. We move from the verse into the instrumental part, and this is around like 110 or so.
Yeah.
It leads in with a drum fill, but it's kind of hard to hear the drum fill. This is one of the big parts that sound like they maybe changed the levels at the wrong time.
Right.
Like they were supposed to turn the drums down and the bass up, but like a second after they actually did it. So the drum fill kind of gets turned down, and you can really hear the bass very prominently. It almost seems like
through
too soon.
Yeah, and there's a bit of like, it sounds a bit clumsy. You're right.
Yeah, so then the rhythm, sounds like they switch up the rhythm, but then it goes right back into how it was before.
Mm-hmm. And then, honestly, from this point to maybe about 3 or 4 minutes in, when it's just jamming and solos.
Yep, guitar solo.
And I will say this. It's good jamming and solos.
The bass and piano, they're really doing their boogie thing. Lots of guitar soloing.
Yeah.
And there's even parts before about 145 or so. It almost feels like, even though the guitar is soloing, like the focus is more on the piano. And then it kind of gets pushed to the side a bit after that.
Yeah. And it's, I think that's what, this is like Phish highlighting their strength.
Yeah.
Is their ability to jam around a solo, to have 3 instruments going on pretty prominently, like that walking bass line's pretty loud.
It's
in the
really
mix.
it's really the 3 instruments at that point.
Mm-hmm. And to not have it sound muddy or too busy, like this sounds like good music.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. for sure. And then there's like some
Go ahead.
triplets in there, and I don't know if you just do triplets and solos or if it's specifically a reference to the original, changing up the times like with the tuplets. But they're in there.
Yeah, they do it at one point, a pretty seamless reference to that section. That
They do it, but that's later on
that is later on.
when they actually.
But
do
yeah, so I appreciate them going off the map with their solo.
it. Yeah.
Being like, we're doing Grange, but we're Phish. We're gonna fucking go way out, and then coming back to be like, well, it's still Grange. Here's this bit that you guys know.
Yep. And so they do, and then they bring an organ in, but that's like three.
right.
That's like 3 minutes in. The organ comes in.
Yeah, that is 3 minutes in.
And they're still soloing. I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of solo stuff.
It is a lot of solo stuff, and I will say, I thought it was good. And that, while you're right, it probably sounded better in the live context, but once we get over some of the instrumental difficulties in the start, and just get into them fucking doing the jam, like,
yeah,
that's good.
they do this also kind of cool thing, where they do this like down 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 down, where they're like all kind of moving the chords downwards.
Right, yeah,
and it
around
almost sounds
340.
like everything's running out of steam, and then they move into that triplet section, but they stretch it out so it feels 4/4. It doesn't
Yeah.
like they
make it
change
their
it
own.
up. So they do that other part, but it really doesn't feel the same.
No.
And then they go back into the rhythm for a bit, and then they just kind of do a big rock finish.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a cool version. Cool soloing, because really that's the core of what you should be doing in this song, because it's difficult to just do the song and keep it interesting.
Yeah, with a song this basically simplistic, both in terms of like lyrics and general like instrumentation, the solo is really the linchpin of what you can switch around. And I think Phish did that part great. Like you mentioned, like, and it may just be a live thing, but like the intro section, yeah, it's fine. The vocals, yeah, they're fine.
Yeah.
But it's where they get to the solo where it really is like, okay, yeah, this is good. And also, I mean, it's also the part that's the least like the original. It's very weird to compare it as a cover and say, well, is this a Grange cover? It has the same intro.
Yeah, it has all the lyrics
Yeah.
and all the same parts, but is it really?
Is it really? Yeah, when so much of it is solo work. And the answer to that, I don't know. It's got the same title, so I guess.
Let's say yes.
Let's say yes.
Why not?
And talk about another one in 2002.
Yeah.
CMH Steel.
CMH Steel. So, I mean, there's not a lot of info to know about this group. They're a steel guitar tribute group. They make covers that are steely guitar.
So CMH, Country Music Heritage Records, also known for Vitamin Records.
Oh,
this is
they're the VSQ people?
Yeah, and the Rockabye Baby stuff. So these guys I'm pretty sure these are the guys who do Pickin' On as well. The Pickin' On series of bluegrass tributes, which we've talked about several times.
We certainly have. Also VSQ. I said VSQ, that's Vitamin String Quartet.
Vitamin String Quartet. Said these are just like a massive label that churns out covers in different
Various
styles.
themed covers.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, because oftentimes when I'm like putting together a playlist and on secondhand songs, it'll say like CMH studio musicians. Like 9 times out of 10, that turns out to be Pickin' On. Because I like can't find CMH studio musicians, but I will find like same year
Right.
bluegrass tribute Pickin' On. It's like, okay, that's who these guys. So yeah, CMH Steel is just another one of their bands under this record label, which is of course probably a rotating cast of whatever musicians they have in their label house.
Yes. I figured it wasn't a consistent lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever's playing the guitar. Now, so this version
This one, yeah.
starts off with the like tuplets.
Yeah.
And then slows way down. There's a distorted guitar playing the rhythmic part.
Yeah.
It's not the original rhythm, but it's like kind of based on it. And then
Yeah, it's certainly inspired.
so they changed the rhythm, and it just kind of isn't very good. And like that's what
Yeah,
they based their
it's-
whole version on, and it's honestly
that's-
barely Lagrange.
Truthfully, yeah, because we also no vocals on this. We get like a
Right.
country guitar filling in for the vocals. And it's very weird because we just came from talking about Phish. We're like, well, the vocals don't matter all that much, but they matter a little, as it turns out.
At least,
'Cause
I mean,
not having them.
I don't even know if it's just the vocals. Like they switch out so much stuff, so much of the interesting things. They're just like,
Yeah.
oh, we'll do our own version of that, and their version is just much less interesting.
Yeah,
So there's
like
just
you
not
said,
really
even that
much
simple
happening
rhythm,
here.
it comes to this sluggish, the bum, ba-dum, dum, ba-dum, dum. This version ends up sounding like it would be in an old like PlayStation 2 video game.
Yeah, I guess. Except it would be really shitty MIDI quality.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I mean, so really the song is there's the distorted guitar that's playing a rhythmic part, and then there's the
Yeah.
steel part that's doing a lot of like sliding around and stuff like steel guitars do, so it's very bluesy.
Yeah.
And there's a part that kind of sounds like some parts kind of sound like the lyrics, but they aren't always.
Well, yeah, it's the lyrics, but then noodled around
Yeah.
it, right?
I guess so.
Like you said, a lot of sliding,
Yes.
but you can pick out the key parts that it's like, oh, it's supposed to be doing, and that's how. Because this is the same company behind Vitamin String Quartet,
yeah.
so like we know their style of
Very
like,
hit or
picking
miss.
an instrument to do that. Yeah, and being very hit or miss. And this one is definitely a miss.
Yeah. This is a wide miss.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
And
very,
then, yeah,
very
'cause it
repetitive,
leads-
but not very interesting. And not
We
very
get like
interesting.
2 notes on the drum that lead us to a new section, which is just the rhythm,
the
but
rhythm.
without that steel guitar
Yeah.
at all, doing the melody track.
Yeah, and it's not interesting. It's not a good rhythm.
No.
It's just, yeah, I don't know why you would take out the most interesting part.
Exactly. They made it heavy and sluggish. Like the original rhythm is called, Boogie Chillin'.
Boogie, yeah.
If we want to take it back that far, it has life to it. It has a bit of drive, a bit of energy. This is like picking up like something heavy and then having to put it down every other step because it's too goddamn heavy.
Yeah, Bocephus could not boogie woogie to this.
No, certainly not.
Yeah.
It would not be in him if this was the version he had heard.
No. It would shut that down. It's very,
Yeah.
not great, not interesting. Just becomes this like really generic blues jam.
Yeah.
That's barely Lagrange.
Yeah, and then fades out on some like at 140 it picks up in volume. Like it gets louder. And there's a different guitar going
Oh,
on.
I think I
there.
turned it down. I was like, oh, why did I have it so loud?
Yeah, you're like, oh shit. But yeah, it just gets louder. We get some cymbals on the drums. We do get those tuplets around the 2:13 mark there.
Yeah,
Again.
that's like how they end it. They go back.
Kind
into
of. It just
that,
kind of
right?
ends on that rhythm. Oh
Oh yeah, it does. I just didn't take notes for the last like minute.
Well, yeah, there's barely anything to note.
uh,
Not a great version.
yeah, that's it, man.
That's it. Let's talk about Black Oak, Arkansas in 2007.
Yeah, let's talk about Black Oak, Arkansas.
Have mercy. Well, I hear it's fine. You got the time.
We talked about them recently.
care of business.
When we talked about taking care of business, that was Taxman.
Oh, it's Taxman. That's right.
Taxman, 'cause they had a whole rant about taxes.
All right, I'm gonna tax your baby or something. They're
Yeah,
making some
something
wild
like
accusations.
that. Talking about taxing babies.
Tax the food out of your mouth.
They had a pretty wild
Yeah, criminals,
origin
right?
story.
They stole
yeah,
a PA
they stole
system
some
and-
stuff and then just like ran away. They got sentenced but then just like weren't ever there, so they never got punished.
That's right.
Yeah, so that worked out
And
for
they
them.
named themselves after the town in which they were wanted criminals.
Yes. Black Oak in Arkansas.
In
They're
Arkansas.
sort of like an earlier southern rock band. They've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Their lead singer goes by Jim Dandy.
Jim Dandy.
Last name, I forget his last name now.
69.
69.
That's the guy
Mangrum.
from last week.
Mangrum. Jim Mangrum.
Mangrum.
Because sometimes Jim goes by Jim Dandy. In fact, I think this is technically Jim Dandy's Black Oak, Arkansas. And also David Lee Roth was inspired by this guy, so they have a similar look. And he doesn't sound the way he looks. That's the background on Black Oak, Arkansas.
That's right.
It's a very
He doesn't look the way he sounds
voice.
either. Yeah.
No. And this is a live version?
I'd believe that.
Maybe not. I don't know why I thought
Yeah.
that.
Is it because he tells you that what we have here is a little taste of Texas history, so it sounds like he's talking to an audience?
It does. It does sound like that. Because that's how
Now,
well they
Alex-
started with, of course, the boogie woogie. But
Yeah.
then they do some. Then he talks about how.
And what are
Texas
they doing
history.
for that percussion part? Is it two halves of a coconut?
I
or like...
believe it's washboard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they get into the verse. He starts to sing with his very gravelly voice, and then they bring in I think it's a washboard because when you get to the
Yeah, because
like,
it gets
transitions,
some of those scritchy scratch noises.
it makes it sounds like a record scratch, but it's
Yeah, they basically shred on the washboard.
yeah.
That
And
makes
Jim
sense.
Dandy, Jim Mangrum is known for carrying washboard
Washboarding?
and playing the washboard like as he sings.
Known for his washboard
Known
abs.
for his, yeah. Well, I mean, in that one video we watched for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
So yes, washboard.
I thought it might have been for a second Dolly Parton's nails.
You just got Dolly Parton's nails. That's probably expensive.
It'd be very expensive, I imagine.
You can clone Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
Unless they're acrylic, in which case, nope.
Not a chance.
So, yeah.
So very quietly mixed his vocals on this. least
Yeah,
at the
but the
start
vocals
here.
aren't in it for very much.
No, because they do just rip through the two verses.
Yeah. And then they kind of double him up on the second verse. There's a few tracks going. And so he sounds like he's got such a bizarre voice, especially if you look at pictures of him. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like they total mismatch.
I mean, you really want to hear like the weirdest? Go look at "Lord Have Mercy on My Soul," which is the one song I knew from them besides their cover of "Taxman," and that one is like it starts with like a 2-minute story, and he talks so deep and so low. I mean, before knowing anything about the band, like just as a child, I was like, that is a black man talking because of his voice, which maybe makes me racist. I don't know, but. Yeah, he sounds very unique.
Is that Jim Mangrum talking?
That's Jim Mangrum talking.
That's wild. I'm perplexed by this man's voice. I don't
I know,
understand it, but
the
he seems to do
vocal-
some wild things with it.
Work he can do. Pull it together.
Yeah, okay. Very interesting. Very interesting. Other than that, I would say it's they keep it pretty close. They have
Yeah,
a pretty
pretty
decent
tame.
sound. Honestly,
Mhm.
I was expecting a more interesting solo from this version. Like
Yeah.
more different from the previous stuff.
I hear ya,
But it
yeah.
wasn't really. So like it's a decent version. Like there's some decent sounds on everything. Like, I mean, you get into that first solo section. There's like a bass, very like farty, growly bass.
Yeah.
So that's fun. And but like really, there's like not a ton to grasp onto, at least for me in this version.
No, it's very faithful to the original. The guitar sounds like the guitar doesn't rip as hard as the original does. The bass is fartier, but is that a good thing? It's a thing.
It's definitely a thing. It's fun to talk about.
fun to talk about. There is a washboard present, but we've kind of talked about that already.
Washboard.
It ends pretty abruptly too. This one on the guitar solo,
It
just
does.
like echoes a note out for a couple
Yeah.
seconds.
Very fast. It's not really a fade out.
No, not at all.
So, yeah, it's kind of all right. I mean, it's not CMH Steel, but it's not Phish.
It's not Phish. Yeah, it's just kind of middling. Like Black Oak, Arkansas is. I would put it above Hank Williams, but that just might be due to personal preferences. They're probably equal, like exactly equal.
Very possibly.
Let's talk about a man who has no equal, Vinnie Moore in 2015.
Yeah, a guy, I don't know his
Virtuoso.
name specifically, but yeah, apparently he's a big deal as a virtuoso guitar player.
Yeah, well, he's part of he's part of a moderately successful British hard rock band called UFO.
Yeah, honestly, I looked up UFO. They've just been around for a really long time, so he wasn't like a founding member or anything, because they were founded when he was like 4 years old, or something like that. But like
yeah, he's American,
he's a member
so
now. And he also played in the studio a bit. He played on Hey Stupid, Alice Cooper record.
okay.
So he's been around, you know. He's done some heavy metal stuff and some progressive rock stuff and you know, everything in between. Progressive metal, if you will. But he's a very good guitar player. And listening to this version, yeah, he's a good guitar player. I have to agree.
Yeah, like 100%. He definitely has some chops. This is another instrumental version.
Yes, it's instrumental version, which honestly, like, the song's pretty much instrumental anyway.
Yeah.
But this one takes it upon itself to recreate the lyrics, or the vocal melody, I should say, on another guitar. So there's a few guitar sounds going on here, and while there is, like, a lot of it is similar, it kind of adds flourishes. So, like, if you go to the intro, very similar, you know, you got the rhythm, and then once he does that for a bit, like little flourishes.
Yeah, it's like a little lick
kind
at the
of
end, a little flourish.
So there's a lot of that kind of stuff, and that keeps going throughout the song.
Yeah.
In the background, right? And then he comes in with this, like, guitar with this just, like, very rounded sound and, like, I think a wah type sound.
Yeah.
So cool stuff. The sounds are very good in this one also. The tone is wonderful, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like that rhythm guitar has that good blues sound to it. His wah guitar is doing the right amount of wah, and when it starts ripping to get you into the main rhythm there, where everything's a little more up, it sounds right.
Yeah,
Like he's got a good
opens
choice
up
of
a
tone
bit.
on this.
And then throughout, he kind of hints at, like, it stays a little more buttoned down at the start, but even, like, between the verses, it gets, like, a little bit of tapping. So, you know, you gotta do a little bit of that. I think it's tapping. That really
Yeah.
fast playing. Yeah, bust out the non-muted stuff. And it even does, like, the how part, but on the guitar. It's kind of music. Yeah, and then kind of, once he gets in the second verse, there's more, like, flourishes, because it's, you know, less controlled at that point. And then they just kind of go all out. So I thought, a lot of personality in the performance.
Yeah.
It felt like that was coming across.
Yeah, it was very clear why he was doing this. He's like, I play guitar. I'm very good at guitar. Here's what I can do. And yeah, that comes off. Like he's shred. Like the guitar is screaming on this by the end. Like he starts out with the regular guitar solo, then he starts bringing it into his own realm, right? So it starts out recognizable, and then he starts saying, "Well, this is what Vinnie Moore would do with Lagrange."
Right.
You go, okay.
Yeah, and even at the start, you know, when it is kind of closer to the original, he's even still adding some, like, little flourishes here, and, like, there's some bending and some, like, whammy bar and effects and stuff. And then later on, he kind of brings in the crazy runs and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of stuff, and as an instrumental version, that keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
And actually, another thing I wanted to mention, when he gets to the tuplet section, this is the one where I kind of decided they were probably actually tuplets more than like actually changing the time signature to 3/4 briefly. Mostly because the drums kind of stay how they were. So if you can actually hear the drums, whereas they really drop
Right.
out in other versions. So you can hear the drums stay, play every fourth beat while
Yeah,
he
okay,
still
yeah.
plays the kind of triplet sound. But it's like, and I've played triplets like this before, and it's always weird. It's like kind of extended. I'm trying to. I think it's quarter note triplets because if you or half note triplets. Basically, like normally you'd play a triplet is like 3 notes in the same time it takes to play some other kind of note, right? So like you would play 3 notes in the time it takes to play a quarter note for quarter note triplet. Yeah. Unless that's an eighth note triplet. I might have them mixed up. But basically, you're playing 3 counts in the time it takes normally to play 2, and then you have this like 3-on-2 kind of polyrhythmic thing going on.
Yeah.
And that's more obvious here, is what I'm trying to say.
I see. Yeah, the pieces are more laid
Yeah,
bare.
you can hear the 4 and you can hear the 3. More obviously.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, what this version comes down to is similar to the Phish one: are the solos good? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, the solos are good. Yeah. I enjoyed his playing. He plays well. And he plays, I thought, distinctively. Although it's not like I've listened to a bunch of his work. It felt like it had personality.
And it certainly feels like he knows what he's doing. From the little flourishes to the big moments, it's like he's taking care of this.
Yeah. So it's a good job. He did a good job.
Yeah.
Strong style. He brings a lot to this recording.
Yeah, and he does make it sound pretty like metal, like hard rock, rather than southern hard rock.
True, and I guess
The definite shift.
changing it a bit, like it still works, but he's not trying to make it sound so much like that, like Texas thing, southern thing.
Yeah,
So it kind of
he's
moves
keying
it
in
out
on the
enough.
rock and roll more than the Texas part.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. If that wasn't
Yeah.
already obvious.
And it ends pretty abruptly, too. A little guitar scream after a tuplet section. And
It's
we're
true.
done.
Yeah, he does a lot of that like screeching stuff at the end, but yeah, it does a little
Yeah.
like screech and then just boom, it's done.
That's right. So now let's talk about the last cover of the day today, Power Music Workout in 2018.
Power Music Workout. That's right. It's a workout version. And actually, what I was surprised to find was that this one does not have like a BPM count in the title.
Yeah,
Often they
interesting.
do.
That is very different from what they usually have.
And another thing about these kinds of songs is usually they kind of suck.
Yeah.
This one, I'll admit, not great, but I thought it had some potential.
There are. I can't imagine working out to this.
It's very busy. It's very much like aerobics.
Yeah.
It's so what they do really. There's a few things. The structure pretty close, but at least at first. But the percussion becomes very very busy. Like we're going 16th notes. It's going hard.
Yeah.
And then they throw in like a Billy Gibbons robot vocalist.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
It sounds like some sort of Texan hell robot.
Texan Hellbot. Yeah, that sounds about right. So that's kind of what they're doing, and everything sounds a little more synthy. So like the guitar's playing the rhythm, dun, 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 dun. But it kind of has like a really fast decay. So I don't know if it's actually a synthesizer or just like kind of a MIDI guitar sound or something. But it doesn't really sound natural.
No.
So yeah, there's some like rough parts of this song for sure, and
Yeah.
it's not great, but some of
Yeah,
it kind of has
bossy.
a decent remix concept behind it. Like I feel
Yeah.
like, particularly once you get into the end later on, and they start throwing in like some of the lyrics again and like repeating, "Well, here it's fine." Here, so like it sounds like, yeah, that's what I would expect from like this kind of a remix maybe, but if they had used the original vocals, probably would have sounded better. If they had worked on the tone of everything, it would have sounded better, because I didn't really like a lot of the actual sounds. The guitar doesn't sound great. And then some of the, what is it, later on, they throw an organ in like 2 minutes,
Yeah.
doing like a run. It's very weird that late in the song. Um, yeah, there's some odd stuff. Oh yeah, and
A lot
yeah,
of
the
odd
vocals
choices.
sound
There's
weird.
this insistence on this like rising synth
Yeah,
like
there's like an
noise
ambient
that
synth in the back, kind of
they
constantly
do
going
once. It brings you into it to like the heavier riff. You're like, okay, and the big fucking drums and everything. You're like, okay, that makes sense. And then it starts happening again, and you're like, well, wait, what the fuck's going on? We're already up, and then it just kind of like there is no payoff after the first one. It just does it. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, then it
like in the
stops.
solo, and it just kind of like builds and then it crests and it falls, and it builds and it crests and it falls, but like it stays kind of ambient. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's a weird choice.
But like honestly, I feel like if some of the other parts of this song fixed their shit up, then it wouldn't feel so weird. Or maybe they only did it once.
Yeah, I think it's with some of the vibes here. They could have made like a weird haunted house,
Yeah.
like evil
Haunted
synth
house,
version
evil
pretty
synth.
easily.
Yeah, I feel like there's some good ideas, but they just kind of like built it with the wrong parts.
Yeah, maybe with the wrong goal in mind with this power
Yeah,
workout.
maybe. So very strange, but slightly stronger than the last time we talked about a workout remix.
A workout one. Yeah, yeah, like they did master. They picked up on an element of darkness, whether intentionally or not. But you know, some of that skeeziness, rumor going around stuff is present in some of the pounding drums and stuff. But again, like not what you want for a workout mix, and they don't really bring everything else around that element. So it's a weird hanging part that I feel works, but outside of everything else.
Yeah. Also, I didn't like the voice, and like the guitar in the
Dreadful
solo,
voice.
very very like sterile sounding, so not great.
Yeah. When we come from Vinnie Moore, which is like dynamic, lively
Yeah.
guitar, to this, it's whiplash, man.
Yeah.
It's the complete opposite side of the
Yeah,
spectrum.
it's not a great comparison. That's not an act you want to follow.
No, certainly not. But you know, we all have our roles in life. Power music workout, and you were meant to follow Vinnie Moore today. With that, we're gonna get into our final categories. We got 3 categories today. Our final verdicts is what I say. We have 3 verdicts today. 3 categories.
3 categories
for
of
our
verdicts.
I'm fucking up a lot of things today, Alex. I realized I forgot to mention that the that's right, that's not right hashtags. I'm changing up the intro sometimes. I forgot to do it last
There was
week.
so much stuff at the intro. It's hard to.
Yeah, there's a lot to get through. Once we're out of this month, man, it's gonna be good, or at least a little bit
Smooth
better.
sailing.
Let's go back to being like that. Whatever.
From
what
Here to
fucking
Lover
rock song
Me.
do we like? Yeah, from here to lover me. Fuck. Oh, too many theme months. I think that's our lesson for this year. But listen, final verdicts, 3 categories: worst version, best version, the version you would use to subtly tell your friend about a brothel that you want him to maybe go to. Alex, worst version. Why is it CMH Steel?
Because CMH Steel was the worst version. That's why.
It's pretty unequivocal.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely. I disliked several of them, but not as much as CMH Steel. It wasn't. They decided to make changes that made it considerably worse, which is not a good thing to do in a cover song. They decided.
Try to make it better next time.
Yeah,
guys.
try to, or like even the same, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I get changing up. I don't know. It just seems so weird. Why you would change such an iconic part of the song to just a really boring version of something that is kind of vaguely similar.
Yeah. And that's
and
that's
it's
what
very
this
slow,
company
and
does.
yeah, it's total snooze fest.
Total snooze fest, bro. Yeah, it's just like it's this big company that does this cookie cutter methodology on covers, and sometimes it works,
Yeah,
and
it's
a
a
lot of the
real
times it
numbers
doesn't.
game, I think, for them.
Yeah,
There's just so much. It's got to work sometimes.
it's got to work sometimes, right?
And it
And this is
does,
one
but
that
not this
it
one.
doesn't work with. Not
It's
this one.
absolute rubbish.
Yeah, it's uninspired. It's very boring, and not good. And yeah, and they take away parts of the song that are one integral to it being the song, and two, they replace it with something worse.
Yeah.
So that
And
rhythm
it just,
section is rough.
yeah, I'm shocked they even called it Lagrange in the end.
Yeah, honestly, not good. Alex, best version.
Best version. I think my favorite was Vinnie Moore.
Yeah, not surprised.
Yeah, it was a very strong performance. I liked his sound. I liked his attitude. I liked his little additions, which is to say larger additions. Even though it is pretty close, he managed to make it sound cool and make it sound like some pretty ripping guitar.
Yeah, he really walked the line of making it clear, even in a fully instrumental piece focused on soloing, that it was Lagrange, but also Vinnie Moore's Lagrange.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tight act. That said, I'm going to give it to Phish just because that vibed with me. I thought it was great soloing, great jam performance. Maybe for me, I guess it just served to highlight why people might like Phish, a band I refuse to jump into.
Seems like a bit much, doesn't it?
It just seems like a bit much. Have you seen that Mark Maron stand-up special where he talks about people trying to get him into jam bands? He's like, I don't know how much time I have left. Like, I can't be getting into another fucking jam band.
I have not. No.
Oh, I think that's not his newest one, but the one before that. So probably like around 2018 or something. But
Okay.
yeah, that's what I think of when I think of Phish. And I'm like, I know Mark Maron was saying that because he's getting older, but also at 28 and with the Earth in the state it's in, I don't know how much fucking time I have
Are there
left.
even
I don't
gonna
know
be
about-
jam bands in 5 years?
Exactly, right? They're on their way out.
It's
I
either
just gotta
no
wait this
jam
thing out.
bands or all jam bands.
That's really the only two ways these things can go. And either way, I'm staying out of the Phish game, but I think this version of Lagrange has given me an understanding of what people might see in Phish and how they can take a solo and make it big and vast and include multiple instruments and still be a solo.
Yeah, and why people might follow them around.
Yeah. Fish heads, as they call them. I don't know if they call them.
Fish heads. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe. Solid choice, Alex. What version are you going to use to inform your friend about a brothel that maybe you guys want to check out?
For my friend about a brothel. I would probably use. Let's see. I'm gonna use the Hank Williams Jr. version because country music seems to appeal to people in Calgary for reasons I don't fully understand, but
Right.
sometimes you just gotta go with the flow, man. And sometimes you just gotta make people be like, "What the fuck's Bocephus?
Yeah, they're gonna be like, what's Bocephus?
What's a Bocephus?" Hey, it's intriguing, you know. It's mysterious, and then
Yeah,
they think
it
they're
leaves them
going
with a
getting
question.
Bocephus, and you're like, actually, you don't want Bocephus, but let's check
Yeah,
out
like,
this
I just
brothel."
gave you Bocephus. Hank Williams Jr. That's a good choice. It's got a bit of mystery and a bit of accessibility. Smart. I'm gonna go with Power Music Workout for sort of the unsettling of it and the demand for motion. They're gonna hear that in this thudding drum. They're like, okay,
we
what
gotta
do we
go
need to do?
somewhere, and you're like,
We
I know
we
where
gotta
we're gonna go.
Yeah,
We're going to this Texas town.
we're going to this Texas town brothel.
Bring a chicken.
Bring a bro. Bring your chickens. What?
You just need one. Well, two if you're,
That's just
you
one.
know, if you really want.
No, it's,
but
depending on how many times you're gonna go at it.
start with one. Start with one and see
Start
if
with
that's
one.
enough.
If you play your cards right, you can probably grab some of the loose chickens around there and keep trading them in.
They won't notice. There's chickens everywhere.
Chickens everywhere, man. Also, worth noting, this is one of the few songs that's had a mildly positive take on sex workers.
True, much more so. Even though it like kind of feels a bit sleazy, it's definitely just like, hey, there's this place you can go there, and it's pretty good. Instead of like, sex work makes it hard to have regular relationships. in like my life. And you're like, oh yeah, I guess that does make sense.
Yeah, this one. So chalk one up in the sex positive category for what was supposed to be a fully sex positive month. Pro sex summer, baby.
Baby.
Baby. Now that is our main segment. Tell us your varying opinions on these covers or versions we didn't talk about. Hit us up on Twitter. #CoverMePod. @JakeTheCressy. @SomeAlexWiseGuy. You can also just hit us up with comments, questions, concerns. Tell us about recommendations for future theme months so we can ignore them. You can email us as well as covermepod@gmail.com. Send us requests for future songs and stuff there. We won't ignore those. We'll probably do them. And, rate us, review us. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcasting apps. We're there, probably. Unless you're on some really out there ones, but we're there. With that, we're going to jump to our bonus segment. It's a return of What's Pokemoning On. Alex, what's Pokemoning on?
More Pokemon songs. That's what's Pokemoning on. Pokemon 25, they put out the Red EP. Apparently there's also going to be a Blue EP at some point.
And maybe even a green one? Or a yellow?
We'll find out.
Probably just the blue.
I mean, there's only so many songs on this thing.
And only so much time left in this year, so
True.
These guys got to get on it.
So apparently there's going to be a Blue EP at some point. So this one has the song we talked about previously, Take It Home by Mabel, and then 2 new ones. So Wonderful by Cyn, C-Y-N. I hadn't heard of them before. And then Got 'Em by Vince Staples, who I had heard of before.
Yeah. I think I've heard him in features on other songs, but never listened to a Vince Staples track.
Yeah, mostly features. He does that one song from Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's nope. I'm thinking, what does he do? He does something on that.
He does. The song known as
the song
Home.
Home. Yeah, Home. From Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. So there you go. Now I only listened to these briefly. They both sounded like about the same as every other song we've listened to from this, except for Post Malone's cover of a Hootie and the Blowfish song. Still a standout. I don't know if it's just because we've talked about it more than the other ones, but man, he really struck something there.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of liked Wonderful. I liked these 2 better than the last 2.
Yeah, I will say this. I like, and we'll talk about it with the Vince Staple lyrics, I like that he directly references Pokemon.
Yes,
everybody else has been shy to make a Pokemon song.
True.
This dude is here calling out Raichu. He's calling out Arbok and Rattata.
He even what's the rhyme? Hang on, I got the lyrics here. He rhymes like Mew with Raichu.
That's right. We're rhyming Pokemon here. That is straight up Pokemon rap stuff.
Yeah. So Cyn though doesn't explicitly reference Pokemon by name, but I thought that's her song more so than most of the other ones. Actually, does a pretty good job of capturing the vibe of Pokemon or how I think of Pokemon. Right. So there's some stuff talking about the first verse is funny because there's so much that fishes that swim in the blue, and then it's wow. Wow. Anyway, so I thought that was kind of funny. But talking about looking at nature and just kind of being in awe of it, which since Pokemon is so much about going on an adventure and being in nature around animals, I thought fits pretty well. There's also, and I was a little bit confused, but there seems to be a lyric early on we talk about glad I got friends like you, and then the pre-chorus bit is I don't understand it that everyone's on this planet and you and me are alive at the same time. Seems to be more of a friendship thing than anything. Mm-hmm. Which friendship is a big part of Pokemon thematically. Part that I don't think the games necessarily capture all that well, but I feel like the property does.
Yes, I'll agree with that in terms of marketing work and
yeah.
what what is shown in like
Yeah,
TV
what
shows
is
and the movies.
kind of
and that.
supposed to be. Yeah, mostly in that sort of side of the media,
Mm-hmm.
but also just like the concept of the magical pets fantasy
Yeah.
that you get from Pokemon and you get from Digimon and like Aragon and his Dark Materials. Which have we
Right,
talked about this
yeah,
before?
yeah.
I talked about it with somebody.
You've talked. It wasn't me, but
Okay.
I'm on board. I'm following this, and it makes sense to me.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with his Dark Materials, that's the Golden Compass and the
Right.
sequels. I don't know how often that series name is named.
Yeah, because usually people just know the Golden Compass. I think.
Yeah. So that's that series. Anyway, and then later on talks about eggs hatching and stuff. It gets a little weird because it talks about driving around, so it ends up being more of like a summer jam. They talk about
Yeah,
driving
that's
around?
the thing. Why not bike around? Like there's little
Yeah.
moments where even in these ones that
Why
have sort of
cars?
loose allusions to Pokemon, like you could really narrow it down and still not sound weird and like you're doing the Ghostbusters theme song or something. You know, like you can still sound like
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
quote-unquote
something
real
strange
song.
in the neighborhood who you're gonna call Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
But
Um,
I thought it was like a decent attempt at like capturing the vibe of
which is, I guess,
Pokemon.
what all of these songs are trying to do, and to some extent, is capture the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm listening to this Sin one again, and it's pretty chill.
Yeah, I dug that one. Dug the Vince Staples one as well. But yeah, it's a lot more explicit in that. But then it also gets some like other stuff in. So like there's talking about says watching for snakes, watching for rats, and then Rattata's Arbox kind of calls them out specifically. Those are the snakes and rats.
Well, yeah, in the grass. So like he's
Yeah.
he's on these. Let's
True.
let's do a full read of Sin here, and then let's
Yeah.
jump into Vince Staples. So we
Yeah,
won't
okay.
do like an in-depth analysis. I think you've hit the points. But just to have all the verses out there. Fishes that swim in the blue.
Wow.
Stars in the sky and the moon.
How?
I feel small and big at the same time. Sometimes it hurts when it's true.
Ow.
I'm glad I got friends like you.
Wow.
I feel lost and found at the same time. So yeah, like you said, touching on those, just like, wow, look at how big the world is. Look at friendship. That's Pokemon in a
It's
nutshell.
Pokemon, yeah.
I don't think I understand it. Everybody on this planet, you and me alike at the same time. How crazy is that? Oh, isn't it wonderful? Hand out the window, let the wind blow. Take it in slow. Yeah, it's a real road trip stuff. Hand
Yeah.
out the window, let the wind blow.
Yeah, that's what I was
Take it in slow.
mentioning before.
Yeah.
Isn't it
Isn't
wonderful?
it wonderful? Laying in the green grass, let it all pass. Let it all go, let it all go. Eggs hatch when they want to. That's a direct reference to hatching eggs in Pokemon.
Yeah.
There's no science behind how they hatch. It's just whenever they feel
No,
like.
we don't even know how it happens.
No. All the things that we go through, I could laugh and cry at the same time. How could anybody plan it? Everybody on this planet.
Yeah,
Look at that.
they also rhymes plan it 2 words with planet 1 word, which is
One word.
questionable, but I'll allow it.
All out. Looks better on paper than it sounds.
Yeah.
You know? Isn't it wonderful? No matter how far I run, no matter how far I go, somehow I always find my way back home. That is pretty damn cliche. But that's it for your lyrics. Like you said, more of a vibe than anything else.
Yeah.
That's been most of these songs.
Yeah, true.
Let's talk about "Got 'Em" by Vince Staples, which right off the bat, even the title, "Got 'Em," you gotta
Yeah,
catch 'em
got
all.
'em.
He's got. This one's in there.
Yeah,
Vince
there's
Staples
a
came
lot
to
of
make
lines
a Pokemon
that are
song.
like specific Pokemon references.
Yeah. Starting with the chorus in which he says, "I'ma catch 'em, catch 'em."
There you
Never
go.
stall out. Yeah.
More Pokemon references.
Life a blessing, so I ball.
Ball out, balls, big in
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon.
Huge in Pokemon. I ain't gotta tell 'em. Tell 'em. They know what I'm all about. Yeah. Heavy step and tell 'em calm down. Yeah, that's all. I mean, that's nothing, but that's fine.
Yeah,
Porsche 911. Yeah. Hat to the back.
Hat to
That's
the
a Pokemon
back.
reference. Where they at? Where they at, man? Yeah. Watch for the snakes. Watch for the rats. Where they at? In the grass. Rattatas, our box. These is our blocks. Yeah. Can't get close, so me getting smoke is a long shot. Yeah. You know how the team rock.
Team Rock.
Just about Team Rocket. Yeah. You don't want to be caught. No. Grown up, we fought. Some we've won, some we've lost. Pokemon battles. Pedal to the metal won't ease off. Ride and try to blow a little steam off. Nothing like the sand and the beach. Like the beach. Lost a couple friends to the street. That's the craziest thing you could ever say
In a Pokemon song? Yeah, that's fucking wild, man.
That is insane.
So something I noticed, if we rewind a bit,
Please.
you don't get it from the lyrics. But the way he says "can't get close" kind of almost sounds like he's gonna say Kangaskhan.
There you go.
Almost. It's yeah. I don't know if that counts, but that's what I thought.
I'll take it. You know what? Lost a couple friends to the streets. Unreal.
Yeah.
What an unreal thing. Then we come to the chorus. I'm a catchman, never stall out. Yeah, life a blessing, blessing. So I ball out. I ain't got to tell them. No, that's what I'm all about. Heavy stepping. Yeah, sorry. We've already read the chorus. Verse 2. You know how I do. I do it. Sport mode fly like Mew. Charged up like Raichu. See him trying to jock my moves. Moves are a thing in Pokemon.
Moves are a thing in Pokemon.
I was on the block like you. Just another Northside youth. Where $1 make a dream come true. Where we pull up to the scene, go boom, boom, boom. No Pokemon references there as far as I can tell. Should have said a Poke Dollar. Makes a dream come true.
Poke Dollar makes a dream come true. Indeed it do. Poke Dollar.
But yeah, this is by far the most Pokemon.
Most explicit, yeah, for sure.
Most explicitly, like, this is a song about Pokemon for the Pokemon album because of Pokemon.
Without a doubt, yeah. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I liked these ones more than the last two. These ones are decent.
I'll agree to
These,
that.
I mean, this is still pretty recent, so I haven't had much time to listen to them.
No, yeah, I haven't been able to dig into it really.
And they don't have music videos.
No, they've got like lyrics videos.
Yeah, which is not as interesting.
Not as interesting, unfortunately.
Not
going to
talk
more
about
time
that.
to rhyme Mew with Raichu.
Yeah, it's better than rhyming Planet with Planet.
But yeah, that's what's Pokemoning on in Pokemon. Y'all want to talk to us about that? Hashtag Pokemoning on. And that's it, baby. That's the episode. That's all she wrote. And as we always say on Cover Me, rumors spreading around in that Texas town about that podcast. Cover Me.